So, hello everyone again. Welcome to Coffee with DC. It's our December alumni edition. Really looking forward to hosting today's event. My name is Lynn Carvalha. I've been a travel specialist with Discover Corps, which means I focus more on the sales side, making sure to fit you into the right trip. And I am Canadian. Might hear my accent come out every once in a while, but I live in Costa Rica. I've been in Costa Rica since 2018. That's where I met another colleague, Jenny, who brought me over to Discover Corps, and I'm just super pleased to work for such a great company. I've had the privilege of traveling to Peru, Alaska, Baja, Mexico, recently with the company, and Cuba was actually my first day on the job. So I share a lot of my own alumni experiences, but it's so great to be able to share with others and the alumni on the call today. A lot of the trips I haven't been on myself, so I love being able to learn from all of you. And I'll pass it over quickly to Layla, one of our pre-departure coordinators, to introduce herself as well.
Hello, I'm Layla. I'm a coordinator for Discover Corps for quite a few destinations, including Baja, Tanzania, um, trying to think again, going over Vietnam, Bali, quite a few. I've been with Discover Corps for about 8 months now, and I used to work for their teen program. So overall with the company, quite a few years, but yeah, really liking it. And now located in Oregon. It just snowed last night, so it's nice and white and beautiful outside and very cold, but loving it. So that's me.
No, that's awesome. No, and Layla has been all around the world earlier this year as well. It's always fun to have such an international team in yeah, just having such an international team is so fun. All of our members are everywhere. Um, so just to give a background for anyone who's new to Discover Corps, we've been operating for over a decade. And currently, we operate in over 20 different countries. So we really have a wealth of trips. Some countries we also have multiple itineraries. So it makes for options for everyone. And really excited to dive into a couple of those destinations today with the alumni. So really just want to pass it over to you guys right away. You know, we have 45 minutes to kind of dive into it. So maybe we could start with Susan and you can introduce yourself and let us know, you know, where you traveled, which I mentioned here, Tanzania.
Hi, I'm Susan Carlson. I live in South Carolina. Um, I made the decision this year to homeschool my fifth grader, and homeschooling does not come naturally to me. I'm just not really that person. But I decided we were going to make the most of this 1 year before he goes back to brick and mortar for sixth grade, and we were going to do some traveling and see the world and squeeze in what we could. So we actually went to Tanzania in October and had the most amazing trip. It was very eye-opening for Will. He is he's my child that truly feels comfortable anywhere, so I think that that really helped. And then I had spent some time in Tanzania prior and knew what to expect, so I was able to prepare him somewhat for that. But that trip in and of itself has made the homeschooling worth it because it's education on a whole nother level. And we had the most amazing time. We've actually booked another trip coming up for this February. Uh, my my child is an animal lover. He just had an incredible experience with the safari. And one of the places that he has always wanted to go is the Galapagos. So he wanted to actually be here. He wanted to be able to share his experience too, but he is with his homeschool pod today. And it's a good thing because the Galapagos trip that we just booked is a Christmas/birthday present. So he does not know about it yet. So
Oh wow, he doesn't know. That's so
no, he
exciting.
doesn't know.
Oh
It's
my
going to be a
God,
surprise. Yes.
that's awesome. Oh no, what a bucket list item trip.
No.
Pretty epic. And no, looking through the photos, he seems like there's one photo with like a little lizard in his hand, I think it is, and just
Mhm.
seems like a real animal lover. So I'm sure he's gonna love that experience.
He has been walking around with animal encyclopedia books since he was 4. I mean, this is his jam. So we're living it up this year.
Wow, that's awesome. Awesome. Well, Todd and Elaine, would love for you to also introduce yourself. You've been on quite a few trips with us in some shape or form, so would love for you to give us an overview.
Hi, I'm Elaine. So Todd and I have covered quite a bit of ground. Our most recent one was the Thailand Lantern Festival. That was pretty amazing. And it's funny when people ask, like, what's your favorite trip? Every time we come back, we go, okay, that's our favorite. So I don't know. They just keep getting better and better. Tanzania definitely has a specialty in my heart. So
Mm.
Yeah, we started with Japan, maybe, around 2017, and then a couple years later, we're in Tanzania, and it just kept, like Elaine said, just better and better. But Tanzania with all the animals was fantastic because it's like the zoo comes to life. And you're right there, eyeball to eyeball practically with some of them. But we did just get back from Thailand and a side trip to Hanoi and Vietnam with Discover Corps as well. So we just keep checking them off because the trips are so much fun.
and so different.
Yeah, so different. And that's something that I talk to with people on the phone. I often ask first, like, what is it that you're looking for? Like, what are you looking to get out of the experience? Because we have trips that are way more arts and culture focused, others that are more wildlife based, other that are more community based, and some that mix both. So it's so important that we can get on the phones with people and try to really understand what your motives are, what you're looking out to get out of a trip, because we really do have such like a wealth of options. And it's cool to be able to experiment. And I mean, yeah, you, Todd and Elaine, have really, I think, seen all of the different kinds of trips with us, and it's so cool to see. So I want to start with just asking, what inspired you to take this trip? I know, you, Todd and Elaine, have some deep connections to Discover Corps through Alex, but curious if you want to start us off with, what drew you to actually traveling with us? Because I know you both travel a lot, and it's really beautiful that you've chosen to travel with us, multiple times. So, but curious what inspired you to officially, okay, we're going to do this.
Well, we've been to about just right around 30 countries, and we did all the normal things, the Paris and the Rome and London, and we did all that stuff. And it's like, okay, we want something that has a little more culture to it, it's a little more interesting, where you become part of the everyday life of people. And we found that Discover Corps really gave us that, because you're not just touring, say, the Eiffel Tower. You're more like seeing how it was built, and maybe the guy who did it, just to compare it to something like Paris. So in the picture here on the left, we have right in the middle Mama Simba, who runs the program there in Tanzania, and she just is fantastic. She gets into all the details. She's obviously she's born and raised there, and very interesting woman. She has a master's degree, and her kids are all highly educated. And then we went and did things with her that I just never thought that were possible. We hiked the base of Kilimanjaro, and we went to different safaris with her. Just amazing. So
I think it's the reason we really like it is because we get to know the local people. So not only are we in love with our guides, but we meet local people. We go and have lunch at their houses. We cook at their homes. It's the sense of family that that really brought us to it.
And Susan, for you, what inspired you to take one of our trips? And
I'm a big believer too, especially given that I was going to bring my child on this trip. I'm a big believer that it's important to instill in kids that you're never too young to give back to your community or just to give back in general. And I have a special place in my heart for Tanzania. I had spent some time there before, and so I was very excited to share that with Will on this trip. And because I finally felt like he was old enough to be able to handle it and handle the emotions, because there's a lot. I mean, there's some poverty there, and it's a lot to handle emotionally. And I felt like he was ready. So when we started looking for trip options, what I didn't want was the luxury African safari where you just don't see any real life there. Because I think what's so amazing about Africa are the people, and they're so joyous and they're humble and they're resilient and they're just incredible. I really wanted a trip where he was going to get to meet the people and he was going to be able to give back to the community over there. And
Mm.
Discover Corps checks all of those boxes. I mean, it is the perfect mix of being able to volunteer and meet some amazing children and get to know the culture and experience the art and the dancing and the
Mm.
beauty of the region with, again, like the hikes at the base of Kilimanjaro. Um, it was such a great mix of the volunteering and just the fun, exciting element and getting on a safari. I mean, how often do you get to do that? It was the perfect trip. It was exactly what I was looking for, and it did not disappoint. I can't sing.
That's so beautiful. And how old was he when you traveled, just to give everyone that
He
context?
he is 10.
Yeah.
And he's also, I mean, admittedly, he's a pretty mature 10-year-old. I have a
Hmm.
7-year-old who, when he's 10, he may or may not be ready. I don't know. But right
Hmm.
now it would be a lot for him. He's kind of my deep feeler and he would probably be uncomfortable. But my goal is to do the same thing with him when he gets to 5th grade, to homeschool for the year and to
Hmm.
take some trips. And whether it will be Tanzania or somewhere else, I feel certain that we will be booking through Discover Corps. I mean, I've just been so impressed.
Oh, love to hear that. No, and it's awesome to see, I traveled to India when I was 13 on a volunteer trip similar to our teen divisions that we have under Terra Education, our mother company. But that planted a seed in me, that I've never forgotten. And I love being able to do this kind of family travel and see that we have young ones traveling abroad, because I think it does really give you a perspective and worldview that you really can't get unless you again go to those places and experience it and live it. And so it's really, really beautiful to see, and I am excited to meet him when he grows up too and see what he might be doing in the world. So I'll start with you then, Susan. Just as a family, as a family traveler, or as for you, Todd and Elena, a couple, how did this experience shape your time together or strengthen your connection? I'm curious, kind of what moments in the trip really helped bring you closer together, or um, you can.
I I feel like again, having had the experience of I was in Tanzania for several months back in my 20s, and I have a deep connection to Tanzania already. I have a small nonprofit where we sport children scholarships, secondary school scholarships over there in that region. So Will has heard over the years all about Piece by Piece, the organization. He's heard me talk to people on the phone who are still friends that live in Arusha. He's heard stories, but for him to then finally be able to see it and to understand it and to fall in love with the country too, I just, I mean, even more so than my husband. My husband went with me for 2 weeks of my trip back, many moons ago. But he didn't stay for the volunteering aspect. So it's almost like I've got this connection with Will now where I mean, we'll still throw out Swahili phrases to one another. It's like inside jokes where just the way we communicate and it just, I don't know, it was just a great, great bonding experience.
It's beautiful. That's beautiful. No, it really is special to be able to share these memories together. I mean, there's nothing like it. And for you, Todd and Elaine, how do you feel that it brought you as a couple maybe closer together, or traveling with this kind of purpose?
You can see right here on the screen, the middle bottom picture. That's Elaine and I with two other gentlemen there. That's in Morocco, and we had painted those
Tiles.
tiles. Yeah, thanks. We painted those tiles, and which that was something that was really fun to do together, because we don't usually get the chance to sit down and relax for a few hours and paint like that. And quite often on some of these trips we've taken, other family members have gone with us. And usually, you see some family or friends for an hour or 2 hours, but I mean, to be with somebody for a week or 2 weeks continually, you really do get closer to them. That's just
It's
the way it
quality,
works.
it's quality time away from your everyday life. And it's just, you get to really relax and enjoy the moment.
And I'll jump on that. It's quality time away from screens and away from your phone.
Yeah.
and
Yes.
Where you're just engaging with people, and I mean, there's nothing like it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's yeah, that's that time away from phones and just like living in the moment and everything. I mean, these are lessons for life. And I think again, just unforgettable. Like you're never gonna be like, you don't remember that time we went to Tanzania, like they're core memories, which we love being able to create for others. And it's so cool to hear these stories. Like this is what keeps us as a team, I think, like going and recharges our battery of all the, work it takes to coordinate these experiences, and then hear that it really can have an arguably transformative experience for people. And that's what we're really hoping to get, and what we want to hear from all of you as our travelers.
What's interesting is I almost feel like the guides have become part of our family. So every country we've been to so far, we've stayed close with all of our guides. Our guide in Morocco got married after we left. She sent us all the pictures from the wedding. I almost felt like I was at her wedding. So, I mean, that not only is it good for us, but we've made lifetime relationships.
Right. Yeah. So not only like bonding each other, but then like bonding across the world. And like, you don't get that if you go to a resort, or if you do like a typical kind of travel, are you going to be able to get, wedding photos from a person? Not necessarily. So it's really special, and so unique. I think that's what's awesome about having, these local bilingual guides be able to really bring you beneath the surface of the experience and share with you. I love this photo of you having tea, I think it is.
And she's the one that got married, the one pouring the tea for us.
Is? Okay.
She got married. The other one is a local mother for one of the guides that was showing us around. And she was like my grandmother. She just kept, we couldn't communicate, but she just kept touching me. She kept, like trying to get me to eat more. It was really fun.
Yeah, she put out so much food for at the time. There was just like maybe 4 of us. There was so much food. I mean, we would have fed like 20 people. And she just invited us into her home. It was great.
That's a real grandmother move there for sure.
Yeah.
That's so special.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, and so maybe you can speak to some other memorable lessons, moments, things that happen. I mean, these photos of the Lantern Festival, this is Morocco here, and then down here we have some photos from Susan in Tanzania. But curious, Todd and Elaine, if you could start us off with some other just memorable moments on your destinations. Like if somebody asks you, oh, what was your favorite part of, your trip? What do you say to people? I'm curious what you love the most, and you can take it from any destination.
Well, I can do a quick funny story that we'll never forget. And that was on a safari in Africa, in Tanzania. Todd jokingly said, this is like, watching a movie in 3D with all the animals. And he said, all that's missing is popcorn. What does Mama Simba do? on a safari found him popcorn to eat on the, I mean, like, who does that? So, I mean, to us, that was like one of our funniest moments. But I think it's a lot of probably cooking lessons, because it's something that you bring home with you.
Yeah. Yeah, you
So,
continue to do it time after time. So funny, on my Baja trip as well, we at the end of the trip, and I've traveled with a family that I had booked on a trip to Cuba, and then they joined Baja, and so it was so fun to meet them in person as well. And at the end of the trip, we did a little like drawing game where we drew like our favorite moment of the trip, and we had to guess what people drew, kind of like a Pictionary. And almost everyone drew the cooking experience. And I mean, in this trip, we swam with sea lions, we swam with the whale sharks, we had all of these other highlight moments, but people a lot wrote about that. And I think it's true. Like we still make that guacamole recipe like on a weekly basis in my house.
right.
And it's true, you can live it over and over again. The food, I think is something that just is like we all have to eat, and taking those lessons and bringing them home. It's like, yeah, you get to live it over and over. That's awesome. And for you, Susan, what are some other, I mean, I'll let you go, Susan. Maybe Todd, you can also chime in with one of your favorite moments.
I'm going to jump on the most memorable lessons part
Okay,
of the question because
sure.
I feel like, especially traveling with a 10-year-old, um, we talked a lot while we were over there about privilege and the fact that, the two of us, we didn't do anything. It wasn't anything that we had done. We just happened to be born in a country where you can go to the library and check out a book. We happen to be born to parents who really truly believe that and have the means to make sure that we get a great education. And that led us to conversations about once we acknowledge that, what can you do with that to do good in the world? What can you do to make a difference? And
Hmm.
then we got home. So we had done my youngest child, Will, and I went to his classroom and then another classroom at the school and had the kids write out kind of a pen pal letter. It was a fill in the blank letter. Um, and then they drew the kids a picture. My name is, I'm this many years old. My favorite color is, my favorite sport is, my favorite book is. And so the kids at the school where we were volunteering got a copy of one of these letters from the children in the United States. And they were beyond thrilled. I mean, it was a huge hit. And so then those children wrote back, and we had to bump up. My youngest here is in second grade, but the second graders over there didn't speak enough English. So we were volunteering in a fifth grade classroom. So these were fifth graders who were writing back, and they would write, in English. So it's their second language, their favorite color, their favorite sport, all this. And then it got down to my favorite book. And we found that only one child in the fifth grade class had ever read a book. And instead, they had to write down the names of stories that there were passed down, orally from generation to generation. It was the antelope and the lion. And so they wrote the names of stories down. And Will could not get over, this is my child who walks around with his nose in a book at all times. And he just could not get past the fact that only one child had ever read a book in that class. And what it that weighed on him some. And so when we got home, we were talking about, what we could do to help. Like we're in a position where we can try to make a difference. And so Will, along with the two little kids in his homeschool pod, have decided that they are going to try to raise money so that the teachers can go to the market and buy books for the kids to try to build a library. And I feel like that kind of exercise, for lack of a better word, wouldn't have happened without experiencing
Mhm.
that. But then also making sure it's you want to also make sure that he realizes too that these are kids that, despite the fact that they don't have posters on the wall, they don't have books in their classroom, they were learning the same thing in grammar. They were learning simple present tense and progressive present tense when we were there, which was the same thing that Will is learning in his grammar class in his first language at home. So
Right.
it was a message of these are very capable, very smart, amazing kids, and think what they could do if they have the resources that we do, and what can we do to help them get there. And that was just a very, very cool experience for us to go through kind of as a family, and that we're still going through because they met with Mama Simba on a Zoom call yesterday, and the head teacher of the
That's
school
awesome.
came up with how much they need to raise and how much textbooks cost and how much reading books cost. And they
Wow.
created a flyer on Canva with a QR code to
That,
raise money. I mean,
okay.
it's the whole thing. So
That's so awesome. Well, so cool that that was just yesterday. I had no idea, and this is why like I love connecting with alumni more and more. There's all of these things going around as a result of me again these little seeds that were planted that continue to grow these beautiful fruits, and um, I mean, just so beautiful to hear that you've continued to that relationship. And I have a lot of people on the phones ask me like, I don't want to just go on a trip. Like I want to gain a relationship that I can continue to give back, like, and I think you speak to that, like it's possible, it can happen with just a little bit of work on both ends, right, to make those things happen. So thank you for that. I think that's really special. um what about you, Todd? Any memorable lessons or moments you want to share?
There's so many. I mean, what Susan just described in Tanzania is so dead on to what we saw as well. If there's ever a place that you want to just, open your heart and try and figure out how to give back, that's it. On the little bit of a flip side, we just got back from Thailand, from Chiang Mai, and we did a lot of things, but we cared for some rescue elephants. There was a rescue that had about 10 elephants, and going through the process of how they introduced us to the elephants, where we fed them a banana and then we kind of walked with them, and this took a couple of hours, but eventually you get down to a river, and if you want, you can jump in the river with these, full grown elephants, and scrub the elephants with these very stiff brushes, and the elephants just kind of like, they're like almost like melt, like almost like a dog does when he's on his back and you're rubbing his belly. And these elephants were so happy. They've been all traumatized, abused, had problems, and here we are, these little tiny humans basically compared to these elephants, and we are helping these elephants feel a little bit better about who they are and what they're doing in life. And elephants, as they say, they never forget. So it's a really amazing experience. There's no riding of elephants. There's none of that. It's caring for elephants to bring them back to a natural habitat that they have made.
Right.
Yeah. So that was very memorable.
that sounds
Yeah, I mean they're
gosh.
yeah, such big beings too. Like you said, us tiny little humans brushing them, taking care of them. And
Oh,
for
funny story. Where we
yeah,
there, myself and my brother-in-law and one other, we were cleaning the elephants, and then it's time for the elephant to get out. So the elephant gets out of the water, and he takes his foot, and he just splashes, pushes down in the water,
He swipes it.
swipes it. That's a perfect word. So violently gentle, but it creates like a tidal wave, and it just sank us basically with water.
But it's the elephant's way of saying thank you. I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
And I was so happy. I was not in the water at the moment and I was filming it.
yeah.
yeah,
So,
you
So I
got it
got
on
it.
camera.
So yeah, I got it on video.
and I'm a total water guy. I'm a dive master, so it was really fun. I mean, the water part was great, and playing with the elephants was great.
Yeah, he knew that you were ready for it, that you could handle a little
Yeah,
a little splash.
but we weren't. We didn't
It
know it was coming.
wasn't a little splash.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
not
It
so
was-
little.
it was triple cannonball on steroids. Yeah.
Wow. Oh my gosh, I want to see this video now. You might have to send it to us. Give us all a little laugh. No, and it's so important. I mean, Thailand has gone through a lot of overdevelopment, and so a lot of the areas where elephants may previously have lived in nature freely no longer really exists, and so there had to be these sanctuaries kind of created, and still having them live beside a river and have those opportunities for connection and care. I think it's really important, and it's one of our most popular experiences is definitely Thailand.
And I can see
And
why.
yeah, yeah, it's a unique experience. And our Thailand trips, I mean, they include 3 full days where you're bathing, feeding, walking the elephants, caring for them, picking up poop, feet, making mud balls, all the things. So it's a different kind of volunteer experience than maybe you guys experienced in Tanzania. It's more with the elephants in nature, but still that service element is built into the itineraries we have in Thailand. Mhm. So I'm curious to just hear, I know we're coming up on time, and I want to bring it to a Q&A for anyone on the call as well, but just, how did our coordination and facilitation, enhance your overall travel experience? And we can start with you, Susan.
I mean, it's made it so much easier. It had been years since I had been to Tanzania, and I had forgotten all the steps that you have to take and all the vaccines and the
Visa.
visa and whatnot. And I mean, I'll admit I'm not the easiest one. I'm the one who's replying late to the emails, and I probably had to be harassed a little more than your average client, but it's because I'm also kind of scattered and I'm the one that really needs that kind of help. So it was great. It truly helpful. Just to make sure that you get everything done and you check all the boxes, and it's nice too. It's comforting. You're going to another country, and then in my case, I was bringing my 10-year-old with me, and my husband wasn't traveling with us, and it's just nice to know that on the front end, seeing the level of work that goes into y'all preparing for this trip, just knowing that you're in good hands and
Mhm.
having an emergency number that you can call should something happen and whatnot. I mean, it's night and day, I feel like, compared to just trying to book a trip and figure it out. And
Right.
it was great. It was great.
Awesome. And for you, Todd and Elaine?
I think what Susan said is exactly right. You're given all the information if you kind of read through it, and then get on the call with somebody at Discover Corps before you leave. It's just all laid out. So really all you're doing is you're booking a trip that has been tried and true, and you show up at the airport, you get on the plane, and then when you get off on the other end, someone's there, they pick you up, and you just go through the process, and it becomes much easier than trying to read the book to figure it all out, and try and schedule each trip, which I don't think I couldn't do it. Not to the level this is at. It's be impossible.
Yeah, there's no
Yeah.
thinking. That's what I love. There's absolutely
Mhm.
no thinking. And I love the there's all the material ahead of time, what books to read if you want to read ahead of time, interesting books. The packing list. I loved my packing list. I followed it to a T, and it was exactly everything I needed. And
Mhm.
culturally awareness before for especially for Morocco and Thailand, what's appropriate, what isn't, making sure, I follow all of that. That was just so helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I mean, my husband traveled with me to Baja, Mexico, and I mean, we are usually the people that build our own experiences. We're okay to go backpacking, do this, do that. But the first time we experienced a Discover Core trip, he was like, "Oh my God, you can travel like this? Like, you really can just like not have to think so much and just like live in the moment and enjoy it." And like, have somebody, make a food with your dietary preferences and restrictions and have it served to you and be able to talk more, ask more questions, not have to worry about like the logistics. So it's fun. I think he might not want to travel the same way we used to after experiencing how our trips operate. And that's the idea, is to take away that kind of like stress of logistics so that you guys can just enjoy, like, in the moment and share time together, because we often have limited vacation time in order to do that, and we want to make the most of it and soak up all the time in the day. Like a lot of our itineraries, we do really unique experiences that if you tried to book on your own, you might not be able to have that opportunity. So I think you both said it really well, so thank you. And finally, what advice would you give to someone considering a Discover Core trip?
Do it. Book it.
Awesome.
You're
Awesome.
not gonna find if this is the kind of thing that you're looking for, I mean, you're not gonna find a better
Thank you for that.
deal
Thank you
there.
for
Fit
that.
in and fit in with the culture and enjoy.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
all those pictures you just have
Oh,
on the screen. I
uh-huh.
mean, that's exactly what it looks like. And you're just part of these events and these groups. You're just going for it. So it's just show up.
How
Love it.
old are these kids in this group in the bottom right?
5 and 7.
5 and 7, they had a blast. The guide was the most amazing person I've ever met. She just accommodated to everybody's needs.
Oh, wow.
And
If we did a cooking lesson and the kids got a little bored, she took them out and she taught them the language. She taught them how to write their name. It was amazing.
Yeah, and the 7-year-old was in the water with me with the elephants when we were scrubbing and got washed down. And at first, she was really apprehensive about these elephants, and by the end, she was just so excited.
Oh, amazing. I would love.
Yeah,
We're the Galapagos trip that we're taking in February. Again, it's myself and my 10-year-old. And then we've also convinced one of his buddies and his mom to come on the trip with us. But I would love to find a trip for my whole family to go on to get.
Yeah, Thailand really.
Thailand was great.
Okay.
Yeah, Thailand's it is a great option, and but it's just the flight that's really long for people. I think that's the one thing we always note for family considering.
It
but
is,
our trips are.
But I really
go
need
ahead.
to say,
Mhm.
it wasn't bad for us. No, we're not little kids, but the flight
was manageable.
Very manageable.
Costa Rica would be another good one for families.
Okay.
I agree.
We've gone many times. Costa Rica's probably had always been my favorite place.
Yeah, it's not on our list there, but we've been with Discover Corps.
Yeah.
With Discover Corps you have.
Yeah.
Oh, I spent a summer there again back in my 20s, back when I used to travel a lot before kids.
Yeah.
And I loved it.
No, there's a lot of good family friendly options. So Susan, we can connect and kind of go through and talk through some ideas. But depending on, again, those interests and what really motivates the kiddos and gets them engaged, I think there's some really great options there. But yeah, definitely the family volunteer adventure trip in Costa Rica is an awesome entry trip. A lot of families that haven't done that move to travel altogether before, it's kind of like a nice option. And then once they travel with us to Costa Rica, I swear they go and take the plunge and do Thailand after. I see it happen a lot. But if you're ready to take the plunge in Thailand as well, I mean, it is our most popular destination and have so many references of families with younger kiddos that you could talk to. Yeah, absolutely. No, well, I want to just throw it over to Layla and for her to just talk a little bit about the pre-departure support you'll have. I know you all got to experience our travel portal, but Layla, maybe you can speak a little bit too. If somebody signs up for the trip, what kind of resources can they expect to have with us?
Yes. So I believe someone mentioned it that before your trip, you'll have a pre-departure call. And so we go over this portal that has all information like packing list, reading before the trip. It'll have a loose itinerary on there, so things like that. And then, like I mentioned, that pre-departure call, we will go over all of that information and we'll go over the group as well. We'll go over your dietary preferences or allergies. Just make sure we have all correct information. And then we'll go over any questions you may have. And that's just so that all travelers just feel comfortable going on their trip. They know what to expect culturally, but also just the group. So everything, we will go over every nook and cranny really to make everyone feel comfortable. But yes, this travel portal is also a resource that we use quite a lot for all information and questions that people have.
Yeah, absolutely. It's our go-to resource for everything, and our pre-departure coordinators like Layla are always updating this. You know, we ask you to review our trips at the end, and we really take those reviews seriously, consider all of your comments, and try to make this a place where you can really access everything. So we can give you access to this even earlier on before signing up the trip if you're trying to consider. It has even pictures of the accommodations that you would be staying at, so it really helps give you a window into that experience ahead of time as well. Um, so I see already some people asking some questions in the chat, so I'll get to those shortly. Please feel free, anyone else that's waiting, feel free to start putting your questions in there as well, and we'll prioritize those. But before we get into questions, I always like to just kind of include the basics of, you know, what's included in our experiences, what to expect. So of course, a local bilingual guide, which we've talked a lot about on this call, they really do become part of the family, and having that kind of consistency from front to end, with also these step-on guides that come in who are kind of specialized in maybe certain experiences that you're doing is really, really part of the experience, and what I think makes our trips different, you know, and it's one thing for us to talk to you about the trip, but they're the ones receiving you, and they're the heart of our experience, for sure. Of course, lodging and accommodations, most meals, and of course, you know, clean water. I say most meals just because some itineraries they do have maybe like one or two that makes sense in the itinerary for the group to kind of break up. Maybe you're in a market or something like that, and there's lots of options. So just something to consider, but it's always written very clearly on the itinerary. But you can expect that almost all meals are included in the trip. Reliable and comfortable transportation, you know, pick up and drop off at the airport, everything in between, any sort of admission fees for any of the activities that we're going to be doing or experiences, and also medical insurance. So what's not included is that international flight. We do have a flight partner that known as Wings Travel that can help look into those arrangements for you. So you don't have to book through them, but it is a service that we provide, and they're actually a full concierge service as well. So if you're looking to, you know, try to make a more complex itinerary, they can definitely help you with that. And then visas will walk you through what you need, the links you how to access it, any sort of instructions, but that is an extra cost for certain countries where it's applicable. And similarly with vaccines, we'll note if there's any sort of like entry requirements for the trip that you need in order to enter into the country. But tipping and laundry service and phone and everything is not included. So yeah, now I'll open it up to the Q's and A's. I also loved these photos. I had to include this one here. Susan is so sweet. It's like such a special photo. And I mean, here the Lantern Festival and the Maasai Warriors. So it's just, yeah, thank you for sharing all your beautiful photos again. I had so much fun looking through them. So for Susan and Todd and Elaine, I know the Q&As sometimes can go over our, you know, allotted time. So feel free to hop off if you want to stay on. You're more than welcome. But I want to officially thank you three for joining us and taking this time to share with others. We always say like our alumni panels are always our best turnout because it's nothing like hearing from somebody who's actually been on this experience than us just talking about the trip. So really, really appreciate your time, and it's really cool to get to know you all. It's my first time, you know, meeting you all, so it's really, really nice, and hope you continue to travel with us. I mean, Susan will be in contact with your Galapagos trip, and Toddy and Elaine, I know you're never too far. We're always in communication.
Thank you for
Thanks.
having us.
Yes, thank you.
It's fun to relive it, especially
It is.
It is.
definitely getting to talk to people who have done the same trip.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, thank you both so much. So I'll hop into some of the Q&As here. Um, let's see. I haven't traveled in an organized group. How would you describe days? Super full or a good pace with time and explore reflection on your own or others? I mean, I can speak to it just on the sales side. Some trips are more packed than others. Other trips do have more allotted quote unquote free time that we try to build into the experience. So we always kind of reference the itinerary as a good place to understand. But generally speaking, I will say that we try to squeeze as most out of the day as possible in order to really take advantage of our time, with also respecting that we understand people's energy levels. You're going on a big trip. There's a lot of socialization and making sure that we have those moments of like leisure time or kind of recharging your own social battery. I don't know if any of our alumni here on the call want to speak to their experience. I know, Susan, you kind of mentioned, you know, you felt like there was a good mix between fun, volunteering, and just time, you know, that you guys had to bond. But how would you describe your experience?
I would say ours was jam packed at our request.
Mm,
Mama Simba constantly was saying, "Are we doing too much? Do we need to slow down? We can cancel something if you need to." And our group of four, we were just ready to go. And so she even added extra things in for us just because we had the energy and we wanted to do it. But she was every single day. How are you feeling? Are you exhausted? Do we look at our itinerary for the day? Does that look okay to you? If we need to cancel something, we can cancel. I mean, she would have done anything that we needed at the time. She was fantastic.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I think it's good to know that like this is a coordinated itinerary. Sometimes we get people who are like, "Can I do my own thing? Can I maybe do?" And like we try to really recognize that these are curated itineraries, and we do try to, you know, take advantage of our time. So again, some itineraries might have more quote unquote leisure time than others, but I would expect a pretty, you know, action-packed itinerary for the most part. What about you, Todd? How have you felt on trips overall?
I think the
I know
trips
you've been on.
usually are well planned, where you do have a little bit of free time at this, but also you're kept very busy. And there's been a couple of times, I don't know which trip exactly, but there's been a few times, let's say, where you just go to the guy and go, "Hey, you know, maybe we can just skip this one activity." It depends on the size of the group, or what, you know, or can you just pull yourself out of the group if you don't want to do that. And every time it's been,
Absolutely.
yeah, sure, whatever, you know, you want to go back to the hotel and go swimming, go back and go swimming, it's fine. So,
Yeah,
but it's full is my general answer.
sure.
You've got a full day and a dinner and sometimes things in the evening. So it's perfect though. That's why you're
Yeah,
traveling.
no, and
You sleep
it's
really well.
You sleep well. Yeah.
yeah,
Sleep
yeah.
hard.
No, and it's true. There is definitely, I always say to my travelers, like they're like, "Oh, you know, what if I'm a little tired or whatever?" And I just say like, speak to your guide because they know what's going on and maybe they have something surprised for you. So it's good to just like use them as a resource to kind of let them know how you're feeling and what needs you might have so that they could say, "Yeah, this afternoon's a good afternoon to stay back and take a nap if you need it." But they know better than even we do, kind of preparing you for that experience. But no, they're your main resource on the ground to be able to make sure that you're, you know, the pace of the trip is appropriate for you and that you're not missing out on anything. And of course, when we're moving from destination to destination, you know, we're getting on the bus when the time leaves. So it's good to know it's still a coordinated tour. But what's nice is we do small group travel. So the guide still has that ability to really customize, you know, as much as possible within limits, but make sure that you're feeling okay and that your energy levels are good. So I hope that answered your question. Um, somebody else was just asking about, you know, connecting ahead of time with our guides to talk about things. So usually we have these pre-departure coordinators who's kind of like your mediator, just to not make sure that we're also respecting our guides' time, given that they're running groups, they run community projects, they're very busy individuals. So I think just know that we're a resource in order to pass those questions to the guide and make sure that you get your answers ahead of the trip. So I hope that also helps to answer your question about, speaking to guides prior to the experience. But we just try to kind of gather all of our questions from all, travelers and pass them on, and then be able to continue to build that relationship with you. But then, of course, after the experience, I think you will continue to have those relationships that you've built personally. But any way that we can help facilitate that conversation, we're more than happy to do so. Somebody else asked, would you recommend arriving early? If so, how do you navigate that? So actually, we always recommend to arrive early if you can. We recognize that that's like a financial kind of question as well. Generally speaking, you do those reservations on your own. It's not something that we necessarily coordinate, but in some destinations we do. So depending on where you're considering, we will coordinate that early arrival, and our pricing we're happy to discuss depending on which destination you're going to. Others, we always have recommended hotels. So even if we're not personally coordinating it, we're going to give you those recommendations on the best place to stay. Often, it's coordinating the same hotel that we're going to stay out on the first night so that you're not having to move around too much. So yes, we're here to support you, and that's part of the pre-departure team's kind of support, and making sure that if you are arriving early, that we understand when you're flying in, where you're going to be staying, and what that pickup time is going to be on the first day of the trip, so that you have all of that information ahead of time before leaving. So we're here to support you, and we definitely recommend arriving early, especially if it's those larger destinations where you're having to travel and there could be flight delays. For example, Kenya, on the first day, we have a big drive out. So we really want to make sure that you're arriving on time. And so that's one destination where we're pretty encouraging of that early arrival, just to give you an example. Awesome. Don't know if anyone has any other questions. Feel free to put it in the chat. I know I'll just speak to the question around ages again. Like we were talking about, what's appropriate. Every itenerary is so unique, and again has different paces. So that's what I come in for, is to kind of make sure that we're fitting you into a trip that makes sense. But technically our trips are appropriate for, 6 years old and up. We've had discussions even with that 5-year-old on the Lantern Festival trip, a little bit, felt very prepared to go on the experience and recognized, the activity level. And so we made those kinds of adjustments. So we're here to have, open discussions, make sure. Also, certain destinations, depending on the amount of your party, we can also offer private experiences that could be even more further, customized to a pace. So we're open to have those discussions if you're thinking about like a multi-generation trip with grandparents, grandkids, you name it. We're here to support. And we actually recently just planned a trip to Cuba for 33 people. It was a really big group for us. Just got back, and big group dynamic with all different ages. So happy to support in any sort of age groups and give you those recommendations. We want you to have a good experience, so we're going to give you all of those tips and tricks ahead of time. Awesome. Just checking and see if there's no more questions. Don't think so. So thank you all so much for joining us today. Again, thank you, Alumni, for staying on for the Q&A as well. And hope everyone has a great rest of their week in December before the new year. I know everyone has a lot going on right now. So again, really appreciate everyone taking the time to share with us and inspire this travel, and hopefully you'll consider, like Susan, the gifting of travel as an option for your loved ones, and create some really great memories together in 2025. So thank you all for joining again. Todd, Elaine, Susan, really
Thanks.
appreciate it. Layla, thanks for being here supporting, and look forward to seeing everyone next time.
All right. Take care.
Everyone,
That was
Bye.
fun. Thanks. Bye.